Ever feel that? Swirling sense of constant change.
Oh, absolutely.
Like the ground beneath your feet is always shifting. Whether it's, personal stuff, your career, or just the world speeding up.
Yeah, it can be overwhelming. How do you keep up?
Exactly. How do you navigate that without feeling completely lost or like you're just perpetually playing catch-up? Well, today our deep dive tackles exactly that. Adaptability.
And it's so much more than just a corporate buzzword, isn't it?
Definitely. It's a crucial skill for thriving in this unpredictable world. Whether you're, say, an individual figuring out a career shift.
Or an organization trying to navigate new market waters. It applies everywhere.
Right. And we've been digging into some really fascinating insights from a source called adaptation.pdf.
Ah, yes, that one. It pulls together notes from some great classes like flexibility in organizations.
And the adaptive mind. How to thrive in constant change.
Yeah, it's packed with practical wisdom. It feels almost like advice from a trusted friend.
It really does. And one of the most powerful ideas in there uses this brilliant analogy for how our brains work.
The city metaphor.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Imagine your brain isn't static. It's like a bustling city.
Okay.
Roads get built where the traffic flows most, right? So if you only ever drive one route...
that path becomes a superhighway. Makes sense.
Yeah, while all the other potential routes, they just fade away. Become little more than coat trails, as the source puts it.
Right, underused paths.
But here's the key insight. What happens when you deliberately explore new streets? When you try different ways to get where you're going?
Ah, that's where it gets really interesting. You actively create alternative routes, new neural pathways.
Exactly.
And that, the source argues, is agility. It's having multiple paths ready when your usual highway is jammed. And that's really our mission in this deep dive today, isn't it? To show how to build those adaptive highways.
Both in your own mind and within your teams or organizations.
Yeah. And the core promise here is that the struggle you might feel with change today, it isn't some kind of flaw.
Okay.
It's just a phase. And with the right approach, it transforms into what the source calls automatic neural choreography.
Ooh, I like that. Automatic neural choreography.
Yeah, a real sense of flight and how you respond. You're moving from those old goat trails
To genuinely soaring. Okay, I'm hooked.
Good.
So to unlock that agility, the source introduces this fundamental concept. It calls it the core rhythm of adaptability.
Stretch and consolidate.
Right. Can you walk us through how this cycle works? Why is it so critical for building those new pathways?
Absolutely. Think of it like a two-phase dance, okay? First, you have the stretch phase. You could call it the chaos phase.
The chaos, right. Sounds a bit scary.
Well, it's about deliberately breaking routines, forcing new connections, stepping outside what's comfortable and known. It's controlled disruption.
Okay, controlled chaos. I can handle that.
Then comes the crucial follow-up, the consolidate phase. This is the order phase.
Bringing order out of the chaos?
Exactly. This is where you reflect on those new experiences, you systematize the insights you gained, and you turn those experiments into practical tools.
So you make sense of the chaos you just introduced.
Precisely. Turning an experiment into a new, efficient pathway.
So it's not just about, trying random new things.
No, not at all.
But about actually reflecting and integrating what you learned. I can see how, for individuals, this avoids what the source calls mental rust.
Yeah, that feeling of just doing things mindlessly, right? Going through the motions. This keeps you sharp.
And for organizations.
It prevents that dreaded paralysis, this is how we've always done it trap.
Oh, yeah. That can be a killer in today's market.
Absolutely. This cycle ensures you're always learning, always evolving.
Okay, that makes total sense. So for you listening right now, how does this actually play out? The source gives a great personal example for the stretch phase. Taking a cold shower instead of a warm one.
The cold shower. Always gets reaction.
Right. My first thought was, why on earth would I do that to myself?
Okay.
But for someone thinking that, how does the source explain the real benefit? It's not just about being uncomfortable, is it?
Haha. No, it's not about self-torture. The idea is your brain enters alert mode.
What?
It's uncomfortable, it's new, it's breaking a routine, so you're forcing it to adapt even in this really small way.
Right. Shaking things up.
But the true value comes in the consolidate phase. After a few cold showers, maybe you notice something surprising.
Like what?
Maybe, hey, you know what? Cold showers actually boost my focus and energy for a while.
Okay.
Your brain then tags that useful pattern, something you might want to integrate. That's the consolidating, making a new useful connection from that initial discomfort.
Wow. Okay. That's actually pretty powerful for such a simple, if slightly bracing example.
It is. And it scales up for organizations, too.
So the stretch example for teams.
Yeah.
The source mentions a hospital letting nurses redesign their triage flow.
Exactly. Instead of just sticking to the old procedure, they're deliberately challenging the norms, shaking things up, introducing that controlled chaos.
Allowing the people on the front lines to experiment.
Yes. And then comes the critical next step, consolidate. If that new triage system works,
Maybe it cuts wait times by, say, 30%.
right, then that success becomes the new protocol. It gets systematized.
So the initial stretch, the experiment, becomes a valuable, repeatable tool that benefits everyone.
That's the rhythm of adaptability in action, turning a discomfort and experiment into a practical, efficient solution.
Okay, so we've got this powerful stretch and consolidate rhythm. It sounds fundamental. But if it's so basic, why do so many of us and so many organizations still struggle with adapting?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The source points to some really common hidden traps that block this very rhythm.
Ah, the traps. Okay, let's hear them. What's the first one?
The first is what the source calls efficiency addiction.
Efficiency addiction. Sounds familiar.
Right. It's all about maximizing short-term output, getting things done quickly, cheaply, right now.
Which sounds good on the surface.
It does. But the problem is, it often starves the system of the very resources needed for long-term flexibility. Things like time for experimentation or learning new skills.
So you get so focused on the sprint.
That you can't pivot when the race changes direction.
Exactly.
And the fix for this often involves dedicating time away from immediate efficiency, right? Like Google's 20% time.
That's a fantastic example. Letting employees spend, what, 1 day a week on passion projects?
Yeah, seems wildly inefficient at first glance.
But look what came out of it. Gmail, for instance.
Wow, I didn't know that.
It shows a willingness to trade a bit of that short-term output.
For potentially huge long-term innovation and flexibility. Okay, trap 1, efficiency addiction. What's next?
Trap 2 is success blindness.
Success blindness.
Yeah, this is that insidious mindset of, hey, our old strategy worked perfectly fine. Why should we change?
Riding high on past victories. Exactly, so you don't see the need to evolve even as the world shifts dramatically around you.
Like staring in the rearview mirror while driving forward.
Perfectly put. And the fix. Proactive evolution. Moving before a crisis forces your hand.
Like Netflix. That's a classic example, isn't it?
Absolutely. They pivoted from DVD by mail to streaming.
And then again into creating their own content.
Right. Long before their previous model was truly dead in the water, they didn't wait for the crisis. They anticipated the change. That's foresight.
Remarkable. Okay, so efficiency addiction, success blindness. What's the third trap?
The third one is fear of chaos.
Fear of chaos. That sounds very human.
It is. This is where leaders or even individuals mistake experimentation for anarchy.
They resist disruption because they want everything neat, structured, predictable.
Exactly. But that mindset actually shuts down the very processes that lead to innovation and adaptability. You clamp down too hard on the stretch phase.
So how do you manage change without giving in to that fear? How do you find the balance?
Toyota's Kaizen philosophy is a brilliant fix here.
Continuous improvement, right?
Yes, but specifically through small, controlled tests. Daily.
Not grand, scary overhauls.
No. Think about just rearranging workstations slightly to see if it improves flow. Or a tiny tweak to a process.
Okay.
These seemingly minor experiments add up. They lead to big innovations over time, and crucially, they build comfort with continuous incremental change.
So you're not fearing big upheavals, you're just constantly adjusting.
Exactly. It makes change normal, not terrifying.
Okay, so if adaptability is truly like a muscle, how do we actually train it? The source gives some fantastic practical drills.
Yeah, this is where it gets really actionable.
For you as an individual, 2 really jumped out at me. First, the weekly beginner's hour.
Ah, yes.
Dedicating an hour to doing something you are deliberately bad at.
Embrace the awkwardness.
Right, like, I don't know, trying to cook blindfolded?
Yeah.
Maybe not safe. Or writing with your non-dominant hand? Why is doing something awkwardly so important?
It's about forcing your brain out of those super efficient, ingrained comfort zones.
Activating the goat trail.
Exactly. Activating those underused neural pathways. It feels awkward because your brain isn't efficient at it yet. That's the point. You're building new connections.
Okay. And the second drill for individuals, distraction walks.
Simple but powerful. Wander around, leave your phone behind.
Oof. Hard for some.
Haha, maybe. But actively observe details. a red door you've never noticed, a bird's nest.
What's the neuro benefit there? Just relaxing.
It's more than that. It actively resets overfocus. It allows your brain to make new, unexpected connections by taking the pressure off. It's like hitting a mental refresh button.
Interesting. Okay, so those are for individuals. What about for teams or companies?
Equally powerful drills. One is pre-mortems.
Pre-mortems, like before it dies.
Exactly. Before you even launch a project, you imagine it has failed completely.
Oh, wow. Morbid, but interesting.
A little, maybe. But then as a team, you brainstorm why it failed.
Ah, I see. To uncover blind spots early.
Precisely. Identifying potential pitfalls before they become reality. It also normalizes talking about potential problems without it feeling like personal failure.
That's smart. What else?
Another great one is department swap days.
Okay.
Imagine your sales staff spending a day with the R&D team. Or engineers shadowing customer service reps.
Breaking down those silos.
Yes. Building empathy, sparking new ideas just by exposing people to different perspectives and challenges within the same organization.
You're cross-pollinating ideas, strengthening the whole team's adaptive capacity.
You got it.
Okay, so you do the drills, you practice the rhythm, you avoid the traps. What happens then? What's it like when it all clicks? The source talks about this transformation.
Yeah, that aha moment when adaptability really becomes second nature. It's a profound shift.
How does it feel for an individual?
You stop dreading change. You start sensing shifts almost intuitively, like a surfer reads waves, as the source puts it.
So less reactive, more fluid.
Exactly. Think about it. A flight gets canceled. You're already mapping alternatives in your head, almost effortlessly.
Okay. A project fails.
You don't crumble. You autopsy it without shame, figure out the lessons, and you move on. You become much less brittle.
It sounds freeing, actually.
It is. And for an organization, the transformation is just as powerful.
How so?
Your team starts to anticipate market shifts, like gardeners sensing the change in seasons. You're not constantly surprised.
You're prepared.
Yeah. The source uses a great example. When TikTok suddenly blows up and challenges Instagram,
Yep.
your adaptive team is already testing Reels strategies, exploring how to use this new thing. Meanwhile, your competitors...
They're panicking,
Yes.
scrambling to catch up.
Exactly. That's the difference. You're not just reacting, you're proactively shaping your response because you've built that adaptive muscle.
Wow. Okay. So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's quickly consolidate those key principles again.
Good idea.
Embrace the stretch and consolidate cycle, that core rhythm.
Right. Actively avoid those hidden traps. Efficiency addiction, success blindness, fear of chaos.
And consistently implement practical drills for yourself and your team to build those adaptive muscles.
Spot on. And connecting this to the bigger picture, the source leaves us with 3 really powerful closing truths.
Okay, let's hear them.
First, agility isn't innate. You're not born with it. It's built through consistent microbets.
Like trying just one new thing a week. Small step.
Yeah, exactly. Second, chaos needs boundaries. True flexibility isn't just randomness.
Like a jazz musician improvising, but within a key and rhythm.
Perfect analogy. It thrives within a framework. And third, rest is strategic.
Rest is strategic, not lazy.
Definitely not lazy. Your brain often solves the hardest problems when you're not actively grinding away, when you're gardening or walking or just resting.
That's when the consolidation really happens, maybe.
Yeah.
The subconscious processing.
That seems to be the idea. Those moments of non-focus are crucial.
That's a powerful trio of truths to take away. And finally, there's a really provocative thought to leave everyone with, straight from the source.
Yeah.
When you truly embrace adaptability, you're not just adapting faster.
You're becoming anti-fragile.
Anti-fragile, meaning you actually get stronger from shocks.
Exactly. Where others see earthquakes, disruptions, disasters, you start to see remodeling opportunities.
Remodeling opportunities, I love that.
So the final question for you listening is, what remodeling opportunities might you uncover in your life, in your work, by truly leaning into this idea of adaptability?